So you can't just get rid of anxiety. It's a natural human emotion that we're all meant to feel at times. So does that mean we just have to learn how to manage it? Should we stop trying to eradicate it and simply look to control it? Well, you've probably heard me talk about controlling anxiety many times on this channel. But the idea of controlling anxiety can be misleading and often has us doing exactly the opposite of what we need to do to get past our anxiety issues. In this video, we're going to talk about why trying to control anxiety isn't actually the solution. In fact, it's often a huge part of the problem. But don't worry, there is a happy ending. Welcome back to the channel. Let's get straight into this. Today, I want to challenge an idea that has become incredibly common in the world of anxiety therapy, the idea that recovery means learning how to manage your anxiety. Now, I appreciate that on the surface, that sounds perfectly reasonable. After all, if anxiety is causing problems in your life, surely the answer is to get better at controlling it. But I've been working with anxiety clients for 15 years now, and here's what I've noticed. The people who focus most on managing their anxiety often end up as the most anxious people in the room, not least because they're literally thinking about anxiety all day long. They're constantly monitoring for it and adjusting their behavior according to how anxious they think they are at any given time. And I guess we've all been there, trying so hard to avoid making it worse that we just end up, well, making it worse. Without realizing it, we've turned anxiety into the center of our life. It's then the topic that we can't just stop thinking about. And even worse than that, it's started to become who we are. One of the first things people often do when they start to struggle emotionally is seek help from a medical professional. This will often come with a diagnosis for the simple reason that a doctor can't treat something until they know what they're treating. And from the patient's perspective, this is perfectly understandable. You want answers, you want solutions to the problem. But sometimes something strange happens here. You see, anxiety isn't a medical problem, it's an emotional problem. And the answer isn't actually to get the right treatment, it's to achieve the required level of understanding. So, are we seeking to understand anxiety? Well, yes, but not just that. We're seeking to understand ourselves. We want to understand how we do our emotions for the very simple reason that when we do, we won't need to be afraid of them anymore. But when we get our medical diagnosis, instead of understanding ourselves better, we often just become more confused and more afraid, because now every thought, feeling, and sensation gets filtered through the label of anxiety. We read about symptoms and triggers, management techniques, and we start to identify with this way of thinking. We might become experts in anxiety, but often become strangers to ourselves, feeling completely detached from the way we're currently thinking and feeling, simply because we've started to view it as in some way wrong. So what do we need to do differently? Before we go any further, have you checked out the members area of this channel? In there you'll find hours and hours of extra anxiety and mind coaching content, including my full control system training and the Clear Your Head Anxiety Relief Program. You'll also get full access to exclusive weekly live Q&As. It's just £9 for a full month's access, and you can join by hitting the button on the homepage or clicking the link in the description of this video. See you there. People often ask, what triggers my anxiety? But that's already assuming anxiety is the thing. It's assuming anxiety is some separate condition that occasionally flares up. What if we asked a different question? What concerns me? What matters to me? What am I worried about losing? What am I trying to protect? Because anxiety doesn't appear for no reason. It always points towards something your mind considers to be important. And if you think your anxiety appears for no reason, then I can guarantee the reason is that anxiety itself has become a major concern. As soon as you label anxiety as the most important thing about you or the most immediate threat to you, then now you're creating the very thing you've been trying to hide from. The problem isn't anxiety. It never was. The problem is the meaning you've attached to it. Let's imagine two people walking into a job interview. Both feel anxious, both have butterflies, both are thinking about how it might go. One person thinks, I'm anxious because this matters. The other thinks, oh no, my anxiety is flaring up. It's the same feeling, but two completely different interpretations. One sees anxiety as information, the other sees it as a problem. And that second interpretation is the thing that makes it a problem. The first person is recognizing the way he feels as perfectly normal and is focusing on doing a good interview. The second person is now focused on managing their anxiety. Now, I don't know who's going to get the job, but I know whose attention is in the right place. This is why I encourage clients to stop focusing so much on managing anxiety and to focus more on managing themselves. You'll often hear me describe understanding as the antidote to our issues. And in this instance, I'm talking about understanding yourself. Understand what matters to you. Understand why certain situations feel significant and certain outcomes feel important. Because when you understand yourself, whenever you feel anxious, it makes sense. And once something makes sense, it becomes much less scary. I'm not sure when struggling in the face of life's challenges became viewed as an indicator of illness. But in reality, it's okay to be concerned about your health. And it's okay to care about your family. Wanting things to work out well for you and the ones you love is part of being human. But of all the things in life we might be concerned about, the one thing we never need to get concerned about is how anxious we currently are or are going to be in the future. The moment you start worrying about how anxious you are, you've just given yourself another thing to feel anxious about. And unlike the others, this one only exists because you're paying attention to it and thus creating it. So the goal isn't to become someone who never feels anxious. The goal isn't to manage or control your anxiety levels. The goal is to become someone who understands why they feel anxious and doesn't regard that feeling as a threat. Anxiety never was and never will be the thing you need to fix. It was simply the thing trying to get your attention. Once you understand that, you can stop trying to control anxiety and get back in control of you. But that's it for this one. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for weekly videos all about anxiety and how to manage your own mindset. Always remember, be kind to your mind. I'll see you next time.